Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of High Level meeting tonight, council meeting. So we'll begin with the adoption of the agenda.
Madam Mayor, the administration has no additions to the agenda.
Councillor Jessamine? Oh, you wanted to adopt it?
Sure. Oh, Madam Mayor, could I just move item 15.1 to new business, please?
So 15.1
To 13.
to 13.8,
Yes.
okay. Anybody else? Nothing? Okay, Councillor Jessamine moves the agenda with the amendment. All in favor? Carried. The approval of the minutes of the March 8th meeting. Any errors? Could I have someone move then, please? Councillor Anderson. All in favor? Carried. So my report for the past 2 weeks, March 9th, I met with the Canadian Strategy Group to discuss strategies for a discussion with Minister McIver. March 7th, the Airport Task Force met again, and we kind of whittled everything down. We looked at the flooring there, and we looked at the paint, and we decided that we would get quotes on flooring the entire airport instead of doing it in parts, and painting, so that will come to our next meeting, and also a sign for the front. So those are the 3 areas that we're looking at for this year. On March 9th, we had a SETI meeting, the MultiPurpose SETI meeting for the subcommittee. But due to the Dene being busy with COVID, the meeting was rescheduled to, I believe, April 8th. On March 10th, we had a SETI working group, and a big thank you to Sandra, Jordan, Bill, and Jamie for taking in the friendship artist submissions. Our SETI graduation workshop 5 has been rescheduled to March 4th with a secondary date of March 18th if we all can't be there. May, sorry. And we're nearing the end of our 3-year commitment from FCM and CANDO. So the administration will hand over to Tina and Sandra at some point. Marissa will be with us until June. We have a working group till June now. March 10th, we had a meeting with Minister McIver. Once again, we stressed how important the infrastructure would be to High Level as the hub of the region. We stressed that the facility would be used in numerous areas, not only as an evacuation center, but as a secondary classrooms for the high school, for the economic, for retention, for healthcare, for all sorts of things. Minister McIver did not have any commitment. He said he didn't have any money in his budget. He said we could use the money from our MSI, but even if we stacked that for 10 years, we wouldn't have enough money, and we don't even know what we're going to get for MSI. He did point out that he would send our submission to Minister Schweitzer, because Minister Schweitzer has $375 million on a budget line, $750 over the next 3 years for economic recovery, and we felt that this would be a good project for our area for economic recovery, as it would create 157 jobs over 2 years and more than 650,000 hours of work. So we are awaiting meetings that MLA Dan Williams said he would set up with Minister Schweitzer. We did get a meeting with Minister LaGrange, who is the Education Minister. Thank you to our consultants. So we will be meeting with her on April 7th. The SETI logo, Chief Anasay and I were tasked with this. Their numbers 3 and 7, Sandra's giving me the eye. 3 and 7 were tied as first choice. We decided to send these numbers back to the artists with more information, more cultural information, and ask them to resubmit their logos. Boreal Housing had a special meeting, and we passed a resolution to hire a lawyer to assist us in the transition of Heimstead Lodge from Boreal Housing to LCMNA, because there is a monumental amount of work to be done in a transition, and it was above the pay grade of the board. So with everything and all the convolution in there, we need a lawyer. And the rest of my report for Boreal Housing will be in camera. And March 18th, Clark and I met with we met with the Canadian Strategy Group, and we met to discuss our upcoming meeting with Education Minister LaGrange. And that is my report. Any questions? Okay, could I have someone move my report then? Councillor Morgan, all in favor? Carried. Deputy Mayor.
On March the 10th, I attended the same SETI working group meeting as the mayor. Then on March the 12th, participated in the Port of Prince Rupert Alberta trade update. Some of the highlights, the current travel time for container and bulk transport ships from Prince Rupert to Asia are 11 days. Seattle and Vancouver, it's 13 days. Los Angeles, it's 14 days. And for many of the U.S. Gulf ports, it's anywhere from 22 to 25 days. And that would obviously be liquid bulk facilities, which they're looking at expanding in Prince Rupert. Prince Rupert is currently the deepest of the ports, capable of accommodating the largest vessels. And they're capable of facilitating large-scale new projects. Currently, they estimate their $50 billion a year in economic trade value, and there's a $1.5 billion a year direct economic benefit to the Prince Rupert area. Right now, they create, either directly or indirectly, 6,200 jobs per year. About 35% of their workforce is from local Indigenous groups who have also participated to the tune of $230 million in direct infrastructure projects. In 2020, they moved over 32 million metric tons, which was an increase of 9% from 2019. Currently 30,000 of their outgoing containers are from Alberta, but that's a small fraction at 1.14 million containers total. It was a record year for wood pellet shipments, and they specifically said the new capacity coming out of Northwest Alberta. The past year they did 1.4 million metric tons of wood pellets. 2020 is the first year for propane from Alberta, and they're considering that to be a huge success, and that's not in bulk, that's going in containers, specialized shipping containers. Right now they're the #3 port in Canada, but they expect shortly to pass Montreal, who's currently #2 in terms of total trade, exports, and values. They currently have on the books $2.5 billion in new capital expansion projects. And once that's complete, they'll be capable of handling 1.8 million containers per year. Right now, they talked about a huge economic loss due to the fact of so many containers are going empty back to Asia. So they come across loaded, but the vast majority of the containers are going back to Asia that are empty. So a huge possibility for new business there. By 2030, they hope to almost double their total capacity to 60 million metric tons per year. They did talk about they have $250,000 in a local economic development fund to help grow Western Canadian exports through Prince Rupert. So that might be something that Reddy could tie in if there were local groups that were looking to export to Asia, to maybe try and do some market research on that. With all of the expansion, they're forecasting a 30% population growth for Prince Rupert. Right now, their single biggest import through Prince Rupert is for US auto parts. So they're all coming out of Asia. This is for just-in-time delivery to all of the manufacturing plants, so that was quite interesting. And they specifically talked about Northern Alberta as playing the biggest role in their future forecast due to the expansion for grain opportunities and for wood pellets, and then once the bulk petroleum kicks in as well. CN has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in the Prince Rupert main line to increase capacity, and has promised support that they would not be sort of the bottleneck in terms of the whole shipping operation once all of their new projects come online. And then the question was asked about A2A and what, if any, impact that would have. And it was the port manager who was giving the presentation, and he said that their understanding is A2A would be focused on a different market, and they really don't think it would affect Prince Rupert to a great extent. Yeah, it was very interesting.
So that was a Prince Rupert, Port of Prince Rupert report?
So it was, Sandra had sent out the thing a while ago. So it was the Port of Prince Rupert economic update for Alberta is what it was like, or advertised as.
So when it goes to the Port of Prince Rupert, it goes to Edmonton still though, doesn't it?
Yes.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Councillor Anderson,
I have no committees to report on.
Councillor Jessamine,
On March 16th, we had a high-level policing society monthly meeting. It was an emergency meeting in regards to our grant funding for the coming year. We have not received it yet. The board made the decision to notify all the employees that they would be laid off at the end of this month. So on the 17th, we notified all the employees of that. We still have not heard whether we will be getting that, but we hope to hear from them before the end of the month. And last week, the Child Advocacy Center, were kind of mixed feelings where we had our first client within the center, and things went very well there for the local family that came and were part of the services that are conducted by the RCMP and Child Services. Things went off without a hitch, and so the center is the coordinator. She's pretty happy with how things are working there with the relationships with the local RCMP and Child Services. We were also excited with the Child Advocacy Center. We did a presentation last week to Rotary Club out of Grand Prairie, and they're over the moon with this new center up here, and they are in the process of approving a $50,000 grant that we've applied for. So we'll be improving, with that funding, we'll be able to improve the center, more furniture, more electronical equipment for the interview room, and so pretty excited about that. And they're actually on our behalf going to lobby other Rotary clubs throughout Northern Alberta on our behalf, so that's again pretty exciting. So, but yeah, quite concerned about the On the policing side, we laid off 2 victim services employees, or given their notice, and 2 domestic violence unit staff were given their notice. We are holding out hope that we will receive that funding before the end of April. If these employees, or once they're laid off and they're out of the building, they lose their clearance, their securities clearance, and would take 3 to 6 months to get that back. So quite concerning. We're not the only group in Alberta. There's a number of them across Alberta that are in the same boat, and we'll wait and see.
So do the other victim services agency, do their people work at the RCMP station, or do they work outside the RCMP station?
I can't speak for others, but most of the ones that I know of up here, they all do. They work out of the area. It's a relationship. Majority of them across Alberta have that relationship, so I'm sure they would be in the detachments.
So could you just put them on
Oh.
holidays?
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah. No, and that's why we lay them off early. We've given them the month of April with pay. So we're hoping that will give us 1 more month. They're gonna be volunteering over that month, and hopefully we will hear something then. Once we hit that, we're gonna have to look at our employee list, seniority, and we will be able to potentially keep some people on with reserve funding that we have to try to avoid that. We'll see. That's it from me.
Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
I have no meetings to report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Welke.
Just one meeting on March 16th. I attended an FASD Society board meeting, and basically just regular meeting. There's nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Could I have someone move the council reports? Councillor Welke, all in favor? Carried. Administrative reports, the council action list. Does anybody have any comments, or could I have someone move, please? Deputy Mayor, all in favor? Carried. Under new business, we have the RFD for the multi-purpose facility.
Madam Mayor, Director Wolf will be presenting that RFP.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
So administration is requesting guidance from council in moving forward with the multi-purpose facility. If we're still looking at site readiness for a possible start date, shovel ready for May of 2022, we need to continue to work on the site preparation. This would require the subdivisions being complete, changes in ownership and legal agreement, and moving the buildings that are located on the school property. We have been in contact, of course, regularly with Sahari, our prime architect, and they'll be completing the engineer design, bringing them to council towards the end of April. They are willing to take a pause in the project and then continue on in November if we have, we're sure of funding, and continue on construction and tender documents. So tonight I'm asking for council to provide us with the direction to continue on with our subdivision. That funding is covered already in the original capital project we had for $650,000 that covered the engineer documents and the geotech cost consultant, and it would cover the legal agreement and the subdivision costs. So just in the capital, we will be requesting additional $300,000 for within the capital budget for moving the buildings. So tonight I'm looking more forward for the to continue on with the subdivision legal agreements. So.
Somebody want to make a motion? Councillor Jessamine?
Make a motion that we move forward with choice number 1 recommendation.
That recommendation being,
That the subdivision and legal agreement of change of ownership, that we move forward with that.
is there any discussion from council? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. The second one is the face covering bylaw 1013-20.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Based on the administration is coming forward at this time to request that council rescind the town of High Level face covering bylaw 1013-20, passing all three readings, and to direct administration to inform the public of the removal of the bylaw and the continued requirement to adhere, and of their continued requirement to adhere to the provincial order. In our briefing note, we have spelled out that we have some concerns that once the provincial order comes off for face masking, of which there is no indication it will in the near future, that it could just cause confusion amongst the public as to whether or not face masks are required, and put the onus upon us to then enforce it. If council decides to proceed with all three readings, the bylaw to repeal would be 1020-21, which would be to repeal the bylaw in its entirety. It would require three readings and a consent move to third.
Any discussion, council?
I'll move first reading.
Deputy Mayor moves first reading. All in favor? Carried.
I'll move second reading.
Councillor Morgan moves second reading. All in favor? Carried. Could somebody move unanimous consent, please?
I'll move for unanimous consent, third reading.
Councillor Welke moves for unanimous consent. All in favor? Carried. And does somebody want to move third reading?
I'll move third reading.
Deputy Mayor moves third reading. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
So just for the public's knowledge, this is the town face mask policy. This is not the provincial health order. So face masks will still be required as per the provincial health order.
That's correct.
We are just repealing the town of High Level face mask policy. So anyone carrying cards that say town of High Level, excused medical, they are not,
They're void.
they are void and have been since the provincial health order. Thank you. The next thing is the wage grid and the organizational structure of the town for next year.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Kersons will address that virtually.
Evening. Council? Are you fine with it? Okay, it's good, Charles. So are we doing these two together?
No, they're two separate motions.
Oh, well, they're in here together.
Yeah.
So could I have someone move the wage grid and the organizational structure?
I'll make the motion that council approve the 2021 final wage grid and organizational structure as presented.
All in favor? Carried.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Presenting our 2021 final operating budget and 2021 capital budget. The only changes that have been made since the committee of whole meeting last week has been the benefit changes that Charles addressed, and also on the administration operating budget, we've added in funds for future government meetings if possible for travel and subsistence in council and administration. And then we've also added in development operating budget, we've added the LiDAR program in there. So those are the only changes that are different from the committee of whole meeting. And I've also included the updated 2021 capital budget with the line item that Director Wolf was talking about, the site preparation for the multi-use facility.
Yeah.
So for that, we had talked about it being from taxes, but I see it's from MSI. What did we drop out of MSI?
We do have, instead of 856,000, we do have more MSI coming, and we do have projects that we have removed from MSI in 2020. So going over the MSI requirements, we felt that it would fall under there if we needed to use the $300,000.
So what was the additional MSI? What is the amount, do you know?
The additional MSI,
The additional, is it over and above the 800?
yeah, so in 2020, we received 856,000, and we're at 978,000 for capital, and then they increased the operating by, I believe it was 100 and some thousand. I'd have to double check our numbers. But we were at 1.07. Just give me 1 sec to
It's
find
almost
it.
1.1 billion.
Yeah.
Or million, sorry.
1.1
Forget about the trips to Ottawa,
1
1 million that we're receiving this year, and then
Yeah.
there's 425.
that's capital and operating.
Yeah, that's it combined, yeah. So our capital would be 978,000, and last year we received 856,000.
And we had, what did we take out of the budget last year? We never spent all our MSI.
We removed the carry forward projects that,
Besides the TV.
So we do have the plow, well, that's ACAP, sorry. We have a walking trail extension design coming from MSI in 2020 that we haven't used any of those funds. And we've also have yeah, we also have about 200 and some thousand left from the community park upgrade design and preparation. So this wouldn't replace, I guess, majority of the 2020 that was removed from MSI. But I can double check the projects that got removed in 2019 going into the 2020 SFE.
Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions on the budget?
I'll move the 2021 operating and capital budget as presented.
Deputy Mayor? All in favor? Carried. The RFD for the Peace Officer Program, or policy review, sorry.
Madam Mayor, Director Schmidt will present that policy review.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. As presented to the committee the whole last Monday, administration is presenting 2 policy revisions for the Peace Officer Program. The first policy that we're presenting tonight is Policy 261-19, which is the Peace Officer Firearms Policy. This is just some administrative amendments to the policy to ensure the policy complies with the latest changes to the federal gun legislation that allows our peace officers to continue to use the shotguns that they use now for animal control. The second policy is Policy 263-21, which is the Peace Officer Use of Force and Arrest Policy. In the past, the Peace Officer Program has had a couple of policies, one on OC spray, one on their baton use, one on, they also have a procedure, administrative directive on their TCP pepper ball tools. And this basically combines all of that into one policy, as well as encompasses the use of force requirements from the Solicitor General's Office handbook in the Peace Officer. We've never had that in policy, we've just kind of relied on the handbook. So this basically throws all of this together into one policy. So there's no changes to our level of service or how we do business within the Peace Officer Program, which is really combined it into one policy document for ease of administration.
Thank you. Is there any questions of? No? Okay, could I have a motion then?
Do you want 2 separate motions?
Yeah.
I will move the firearm policy.
Okay. Council approves the administrative revisions. Policy 26, I can't see that.
261-19.
All in favor? Could I have someone move the second policy, please?
I'll move the second policy, 263-21.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
RFD for by-election.
Madam Mayor, Council, in light of the passing of Councillor Forrest, there is a vacancy, of course, created on High Level Town Council. Under the MGA Section 162, the council must hold a by-election to fill a vacancy on council unless vacancy occurs in the 6 months prior to a general election, or the council consists of 6 or more councillors and the vacancy occurs in the 18 months before a general election, and there is only 1 vacancy in the 12 months before a general election, and the number of councillors remaining is at least 1 more than the majority of the number of councillors comprising the council under Section 14. So under that section, there is no requirement for the council to hold a by-election. Looking at the dates, the earliest possible date, if the by-election was contested, that a councillor could be elected would be May the 7th, which only leaves a handful of meetings prior to the general election in October of this year. So it is administration's recommendation that council not hold a by-election to fill Councillor Forrest's vacancy.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, a motion. Councillor Jessamine. That council not, we're not supposed to make negative motions.
For vote, maybe by-election?
Forego holding a by-election. Okay, all in favor? Carried. So council, 13.6 is council committee vacancies.
Madam Mayor, in your package, again, further to the passing of Councillor Forrest, there are a number of vacancies on the council committees. On page 115 and 116 are the lists of council committees. The vacancies are highlighted, as are the members of council who have agreed to fill those vacancies.
Okay, could I have a motion to accept those councillors on those committees? Councillor Morgan, all in favor? Carried. So we will be sending a letter to each one of those.
Each one of those.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
It's for the ones for the town, the town that Councillor Welty's on the school nursery.
Okay. So the next one is the tax exemptions for property.
Yes, good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. So in our administration has compiled applications that have been received from 5 nonprofit organizations operating within the town of High Level, requesting to be exempt for the 2021 tax year. So listed below are the High Level Native Friendship Center, High Level Ag Society, High Level Toy Lending Library Society, High Level Golden Range Society, Northwest Resource Society. And we are also awaiting an application from the Northwest Regional FASD Society. Because their building was tax exempt previously under Action North, it was missed to send them an application for the tax exemption. So once we do receive the completed documents from them, we will be bringing it forward to a future meeting. And administration's recommended some background for the properties. There are 2 properties that were submitted in 2020 with the High Level Native Friendship Center, which were denied. So the one property was the Aboriginal Head Start, and administration feels that since discussed with the matter with the town of High Level Native Friendship Center, that they do meet the criteria for property tax exemption. There is a section in COPTER stating that if you're restricted based on race, culture, ethnic origin, and religious belief, that you do not fall under that criteria. But because the applications for the Aboriginal Head Start are open to all applicants and more than just based on their culture and ethnic origin, they are accepted. So administration is satisfied with that criteria. The second property, 110 95th Street, was purchased by High Level Native Friendship Center in 2020. The town was advised that the society's intent was to demolish the existing structure and to use it as an interpretive center, including an amphitheater and a teepee. However, it's most likely not going to be completed in 2021. So since this is just a vacant lot and not used for a nonprofit purposes this year, we recommend that the tax exemption for that application be denied based on the criteria of COPTER. With respect to all of the other properties that we've received, the organizations fall under the criteria for tax exemption, and majority of the properties that do send an application have been exempt for more than 7 years. And it's also our recommendation that we keep the property tax exemptions in place for 3 years, just to free up administration time and the process for applications for the nonprofit organizations. And if it's needed to have an update every year, that's something administration can do as well.
Okay, I thought we did that recommendation last year to make it 3 years. And also, was it Aboriginal Head Start that I thought it was the youth center because it was not being used.
From administration, from taxes, they said it was the Aboriginal Head Start that was denied the tax exemption due to the section in the copter.
So my recollection is the Head Start, we had originally not included because of the limitation for just being First Nations, but then the clarification was given. But no, I agree that the youth center, we had asked questions about that. In their application, it says that it's open daily, that it's not a food good. No one uses that building, like, I bet you there's someone there maybe one day a week, if that, just in and out. So,
Yeah, I mean, during the discussions, there was discussion about the Aboriginal Head Start,
for sure.
but we never negated it. I'm positive it was the youth center because it wasn't being used. And it has to have, like, the Golden Range have to have a membership list where you have members signing in and it's being used.
I thought that they had come back with the youth center and said, no, it was now being utilized and they were going to use it, and, but they haven't. But at least not in my opinion.
I remember the conversation around the youth center for sure. I don't remember denying the Head Start.
And I thought we said we'd make it 3 years.
I know we didn't make it 3 years, so we didn't have to go through this year every year.
We can bring back information on the youth center if you want to exclude that from your motion at this point in time.
Well, it's kind of difficult to exclude it this year because none of these were being used. But we were looking into it last year.
I recall when we looked at it last year, it was open the Thursday a week, that was it. And for limited hours on that Thursday, which didn't meet the criteria for the tax exemption.
So perhaps we can accept this, but we need to look into that one.
Okay.
And I mean, we'll forego it this year because none of these centers are being used, like the Golden Range, any of them that are.
If you want, administration could bring this back to the next council meeting with that information, and we still have time before we do taxes. Tax season's not till May, and we can bring it back for the April 12th meeting, if that's something council would like.
Is that what council would like?
Sure.
Okay, could someone make a motion to table it to next meeting?
I'll do it.
Councillor Morgan moves to table this discussion to the next council meeting, which is April, I don't know, let's pick the 12th.
Thank you.
Yeah, 2 weeks now. All in favor of that motion? Carried. 13.8, Councillor Welke.
This is, I just wanted to bring this awareness to the public who may be watching tonight. We did receive a letter of support from MLA Williams for our multiplex center, multi-use center that we have, and we've been hearing a lot about, and our administration departments are doing a lot of work, and the mayor's been doing a lot of work, and I really wanted the public to be aware of this letter and to have a look online. It's there, that we have the official support for this project from MLA Williams, but we need, a lot of support from the public, and I think we've, even tonight we passed a motion to allocate some more funds, and there is momentum and things are really happening around this project. So we'd really like the public to, either, letters of support as well, or to, really understand and learn about the project and see how it's going to benefit all of us, including, everyone affiliated with the official partners, the Denetah First Nation and the Fort Vermilion School Division. So just in case those viewing, didn't see, some of these documents, they are available, in the package and can be viewed online, and then, you can contact, us or the town for further information, but we really would like to see the support of the public and really get behind this project. So that's really all I, wanted to bring up, and bring an awareness of that to the people.
Thank you. Anybody else want to chime in? No? Shy? Thank you, Councillor Wilkie. We will move on to correspondence. No, he doesn't need it.
Do you need it for information?
Okay, sure, we'll accept Councillor Wilkie's endorsement as information. Does someone want to make that motion?
I would.
Councillor Morgan, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence for action, AUMA Interim Alberta Advisory Board Survey.
Madam Mayor, we received this email on March 16th from the AUMA. There is a survey regarding the interim Alberta Police Advisory Committee. It's an approximately 30-minute survey, and administration is just asking if a member of council wanted to complete that survey or if they would like administration to.
Council? I started filling it out and then I thought, oh, I better ask council.
I would think a member of the policing society would be pleased to fill it out.
It's on the interim policing board. Were you at that meeting? Oh. It's on what the interim policing board has been doing for AUMA. Since I was at the meeting, I guess I can volunteer to fill it out if you would like me to. Okay, someone want to make that motion? Councillor Jessamine, all in favor? Carried. The Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus meeting, there's the agenda. It's going to be April 14th, 15th, and 16th. What?
Just let her know. Let us know and we'll help you.
Anybody let Sandra know if you're wishing to attend? Okay, I'm enrolled. Anybody else? Two? No. Okay. It's because we have nothing to do.
For 3 days.
All right. All in, or can someone make that motion to send or register all councillors that wish to be involved?
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Welke, all in favor? Carried. Make sure you let her know soon. Correspondence for information. Can somebody?
I'll move 15.2 to 15.7 for information.
All in favor of Councillor Morgan's motion? Carried. So thank you to the public for joining us tonight. This ends our public portion of our meeting. So good evening to everybody. And could I have a motion to move in camera?
Motion moving.
Councillor Anderson, all in favor? Carried.